Have you all seen Formula E before?
Yes.
Yeah?
Season 2.
Yeah. Oh, really? Okay, yeah. Cool. So this year, the biggest change this year is we have Generation 3 cars. So the cars now are smaller, lighter, more powerful, and the fastest ever Formula E cars. The cars now weigh 850 kilos and are capable of speeds of 322 kilometers an hour. So much faster. They produce 350 kilowatts of power, which is around 470 brake horsepower. So lots of power. And now we have the Hankook groove tyres, which you can see there. They now, it's very hard for the drivers to get that power down to the tarmac, because there's more power than there is grip. So the cars are a lot more challenging for the drivers to drive. The biggest change for this year is now we have regeneration not only on the rear axle, so as the cars brake for the corner, the battery is regenerated using the motor as a generator to generate energy back into the battery. But not only do we generate energy from the rear axle, but we now regenerate energy from the front axle as well. So the cars are not four-wheel drive, but we can also harvest energy from the front axle, which means we now can generate 600 kilowatts of energy back into the battery under braking. Which means we start the race with only 60% of the energy needed to complete the race, but we can regenerate that remaining 40% energy during the race. So it makes the cars incredibly efficient. We see powertrain losses of only 3%, 3 to 5% maximum powertrain losses. So the cars are 95 to 97% efficient, which when you compare that to an internal combustion engine race car, so even the most efficient internal combustion engines are only around 52% efficient. So we're seeing much higher rates of energy consumption there. So this is our driver's Formula E steering wheel. This is one from Generation 2, so you can film this one. The one on the race cars is top secret, so we're not allowed to film that one, but this one is okay. So here you can see, and don't worry, I'll come down so everyone can see it. We have lots of buttons and switches. All of the teams have the same wheel, but how the wheel is programmed is entirely up to each team. So depending on which functions need to be changed by the driver at which time, depends on where they lay the switches out. So for example, for powertrain regeneration strength, that's something they'll change fairly regularly. So a number of times, depending on the battery temperature and the state of charge, they will adjust that with these thumb wheels here. Brake balance, so the balance of the braking the front to the rear, they will adjust that using these buttons multiple times a lap, sometimes every corner. They will be making small changes to the brake bias using these buttons here. And the driver radio and attack mode buttons, they're also very close so that the driver can basically work very quickly with his thumbs on these buttons. But functions that are changed less often, so the scenario for example, which is the map. So this map, if you go to map 10, that's the most powerful setting, 350 kilowatts. And then gradually we come down to a safety car, which is the most efficient. It's not very fast, but it's very efficient. And then everything in between. So the driver will take his hands off the wheel there. The driver will look at the steering wheel and read figures back to the engineer. And the engineer will then say to the driver what settings he wants the driver to change. So they use the radio to communicate, not telemetry. Telemetry is illegal, it's not allowed. So the driver has to read it, radio, the engineer will then radio back a code. So for example, the engineer may say, Sarah +2 confirm. Okay, so you go to Sarah +2 confirm. So the paddles, this is not for changing gear. So normally in a race car you change gear with these paddles. This is like your keyboard and your mouse on your computer. So this is like left, right arrow. So when they change the settings, they scroll through different settings, and this is like the enter button, or the right click on a mouse. When the driver wants to regenerate energy, so under braking, they can pull these paddles, which then makes the rear and the front powertrain turn into a generator, which slows the car but also regenerates the energy back into the powertrain. And then we have speed limiters for the pits and for the full course yellow. So maximum 60 kilometers an hour, they press the button and the car has a limit. And then attack mode, they will have to arm attack mode using this button and then choose a scenario, because they have to do attack mode twice. So they'll choose a scenario, either 6 minutes and 2 minutes, 4 minutes and 4 minutes, or 2 minutes and 6 minutes. So they choose a scenario and hit enter. So all of the time they're doing this whilst trying to stop 21 other drivers to overtake them, whilst trying to get 470 horsepower down to the road alongside concrete walls. So there's a lot happening in the cockpit with the Formula E driver. So we'll start here. Do you want to hold it?
Sure.